This garden was made possible by the cooperation of the Plainsboro Preserve, along with Boy Scout Troop 123. The Plainsboro Preserve is a collaboration of open space by town, county, and the Audubon Society of New Jersey. The Audubon Society is a nonprofit environmental organization dedicated to the conservation of land and animals. Originally founded in 1905 with help from John Muir and others, John Muir is America's most famous naturalist, known for his work in the Yosemite National Park. The Audubon Society is a national organization with chapters in most states. New Jersey Audubon Society has 7 nature centers for visitors to enjoy. Audubon Society is dedicated to the preserving of the ecosystem and particularly focused on birds and bird habitat to improve humanity and the earth. At the Plainsboro Preserve, they have almost 1,000 acres of land and hiking trails open to the public. The preserve supports 150 species of birds throughout the year. At the entrance, they have an education center. You can get trail maps and do some quiet bird watching. So here's the problem conservationists are struggling with. Our bird population is decreasing because their habitat and food sources are decreasing. So here's the problem conservationists are struggling with. Our native bird population is decreasing because their habitat and food source is decreasing. Did you know that 96% of birds in North America rely on insects for their food? And that 37% of all animals in North America are insects? But insects need food too, and insects eat plants. The important part is that not all plants are created equal in their ability to support wildlife. There's a difference between native plants and alien or foreign plants. Native plants have been in the local ecosystem a long time, and native insects and wildlife rely on them. Many alien or foreign plants do not support the local ecosystem as well. And as alien species push out the native species of plants, there are fewer birds and other wildlife. The irony is, some people choose to use alien plants for that very reason, because they are deer resistant. This means that bugs do not eat them. This is not supporting the wildlife. But nature isn't always pretty. Leaves eaten by bugs is a sign that nature is at work. Caterpillars and larvae on plants are an important source of food for the birds. Insects are the bridge that transfers energy from photosynthesis into energy that herbivores and other animals can eat, such as rabbits, cattle, and deer. Then omnivores like us can eat them. That's how our ecosystem works. The energy in our body comes from the sun, to the plants, to insects and other herbivores, and then to us. But back to the birds. The plants we grow in our gardens have a crucial role for our local wildlife. If everyone dedicated just 10% of the garden to planting native plants, then our ecosystem could thrive. Hummingbirds would be more plentiful in New Jersey, and we'd see many more species of wildlife. For my Eagle Scout service project, I worked with the Audubon Society and the Plainsboro Preserve to build a native plant rock garden in front of their education center. This is an example of how we can all use native plants in our home gardening. This garden is about 12 feet by 8 feet, and we planted 24 native plants in 7 varieties. Some nurseries in the area specialize in native plants, and it's also important to choose the right plants for the garden. This garden is in full sun and get very dry. However, some native plants prefer more shady and marshy conditions. The Audubon Society even has a native plant database on their website. We entered in our zip code and got 89 native plant species that we could use in our garden. It also tells you what birds are attracted to each plant, shrub, and tree. There are also several books on this subject. I am grateful to have Bringing Nature Home by Douglas Townley, who provided much of what I learned for this project. In conclusion, it's actually pretty obvious. We all enjoy having birds in our yards and neighborhoods, so we need to offer them a reason to be there. Plant a native garden to provide habitat that will provide food that they need. Also, enjoy your insects. So now we'll show you how we built our garden at the Plainsboro Preserve, and hopefully you can build one at home. So now we're entering the Triple Oaks Nursery in New Jersey. This is where we purchased the plants that we planted in the garden. Okay, so here we have just purchased all the plants that we were going to plant in the garden, and we're currently loading them up in the back of the truck to take them to the preserve. So this is what's located here now. There's some old grasses that are going to be relocated somewhere else, and then the new garden will be planted here, incorporating all the rocks that are on the sides of the buildings, and some are inside the buildings. Every plant we're planting here is native to New Jersey, which is good for many reasons, and we'll discuss that later. And the first step of this is to take all of the grasses out, till the ground, and mix in the soil we have, the nutrient-rich soil, and then from there we can plot out where we want each individual plant. We'll get approval for that, and then we can start planting them. So that should be good. Alright, so first step we're going to do, after we move these tools out of the way, we're just going to take the plants, go put them over on the right side of that garden, so they're out of the way, so we keep walking, and then we'll move the tools next to them, making sure they're out of the way. And then I'll go inside and get Nancy Fisk, and she can help us go from there.
All right, let's see what's done, boys.
So this is us unloading all of the plants and supplies needed to build the garden. We unloaded them and put them next to the area that the garden was going to be planted. Okay, so there are some rocks that are over there. This is a rock garden, so obviously we want to incorporate the rocks. They're not using them right now, and there are some that are inside, so we're just going to take them and add them to our pile so we know how many we have before we can begin the garden. So, let's go. Here we dug up the old grasses that were planted there previously and relocated them to a new garden a few yards away. We're just putting the plants in clusters along this line right here. So the grasses can go in front of these guys, and you'll be able to see all the plants behind it. It can only be in this area though, we don't want to plant anything. Here we tilled the soil to prepare for the new plants. Tilling the soil is good for the soil because it aerates it and it helps prep it before we add in the nutrients needed for the plants. So this is the soil that we mixed in with the previous dirt that was at the garden after we finished tilling it. The soil has microorganisms in it which help the plants grow and stay healthy. So after mixing in the topsoil with the dirt that was there prior, we laid over a weed barrier to help prevent weeds from coming in through into the garden. Okay, so the mulch liner's been laid down. So now what we gotta do is first put the rocks where we want them, and then the plants, since they work together to form the aesthetic look that we want. After that, we have to cut holes in this liner and then plant the plants through them. And then we put the mulch down in between everything, make it look good, do the finishing touches, and sweep up, and the garden will be finished. So here we laid out where we wanted each plant to be, and while we were doing this, we wanted to keep in mind sizes of the plants along with color and texture, so we could vary it to make it aesthetically pleasing. Here's the finished garden. This is after everything's been planted and the rocks have been laid out. The final step was to mulch everything. Hi, thanks for watching the video. I hope you learned a lot about native plants and how to landscape with them, and I hope you take this knowledge and put it towards your own gardens. Thank you.